afternoon, good evening, uh, wherever you are all over the world, joining us this day for this session. All right, this is the Power Apps series, and this is the third week. This is the third week. The first week we took us all into the general overview and introduction of Power Apps. All right, and we have that video up on our YouTube channel. Last week we also delved into how then you start a project. All right, a Power Apps project, which we told us on we start project from data modeling, which one of our very good friend Omolola took us through last week. We're still working on that video. So that video, last week's video, and today's video will be uploaded together on the YouTube channel after today's session. All right. And for those who joined last week, thank you for joining. It was indeed a very pleasurable time, and we definitely do, feel your pain in terms of the glitches that probably happened last week, and we sincerely apologize for all of those glitch. All right. And thank you for taking it. I was so impressed over the week when a lot of people reached out saying, "Is the video available now? Can we go over it again?" and all of that fantastic stuff. So definitely we're working to clean up that video and make it available to everyone who was in the session live with us just last week. All right. So last week we created some, we started our project tracking application, which is what the project scenario, the capstone scenario that we're looking at using to learn the Power Apps. And last week we started by showing us how data model happens. And Omonola did a fantastic job explaining to us that at the stage of starting up a project, it is important that you have your data structure well written out. I remember she had a PowerPoint where she started, listing the required entities, or let's call it tables, that we need, and which she explained that those tables are how you store your data, right? And those table contains different kind of columns and all of that. And last week she was able to create those tables and also create columns in each of those table. And if you also remember, you would see that each of those columns have their own data type, which means how you want to store data. Do you want to store your data as text? Do you want to store your data as date and time? Do you want to store your data as numbers and all of that? Then she went out creating all of those in the light of the project we are trying to create. All right, fantastic stuff. I'm sure Kayode will probably still show us that a bit before he continues this evening. So today we'll be taking the step forward. It's going to be an interesting session today. I need everybody to take their time, sit down, follow through after the session, ask your questions, and like I said, when the videos are up, go over the videos over and again. So today we'll be looking at the Power Apps composition. So we'll be looking at how do you now start up by building a Canvas app, how do you start up by building a model driven app, and those are the things we'll be looking at today, still in the still following the same scenario we are looking at, the project tracking scenario. And if you remember the scenario explanation I did, I said there is a sales rep side, there's a project people side. So that means the sales rep has just won a project and is trying to now upload or pass the project information to the project team so that they can start up the project. So the application side, where the project manager or the sales manager or the sales rep will be submitting that information, would be a Canvas application, which is what we'll be looking at today. Kayode, I will leave all of that to Kayode to explain, to take us through. I have with me this evening Kayode Ajayi, who is a senior Power Platform developer, a fantastic developer. I've worked with Kayode over time, so I know that Kayode is is a driller. So I'm sure he's going to drill everybody today. So get your loins ready to be drilled. Good evening, Kayode. It's good to have you around. Thank you for joining us all the way from where you are.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, wife, for that. We've really taken time to give a recap of everything that has gone through. So, yeah, so I'm sure we've actually enjoyed the training. Domolala did a beautiful job introducing on to the Dataverse as the data platform. I'm just going to share my screen. as we get into the session of today. I really do not want to waste any time because we actually have loads to do today. I've not seen a time where we want to treat Canvas app and model driven apps at the same time. So I hope you can hear me. Can you confirm you can hear me?
We can hear you, but just help us speak a bit louder so we can hear you clearly. I think it seems low for some of us.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly from my side.
All right. So, as I was saying, here we want to try to teach Canvas apps and model driven apps in the same day within 1 hour, 30 minutes. That's going to be a record. So, let's get straight into it. There's no time to have any form of days. Okay. So, today we are starting with Canvas apps, right? We know that there are three types of Power Apps you can create. You can create a Canvas app, you can create a model-driven app, and you can create a Power Apps portal. Here we are focusing on Canvas and model-driven apps for now. Um, Now, this is a demo of what we are going to be creating. So let me just come back out. So as AY said, the scenario we are having is a project management solution. So there are two applications basically we are building. We are building the app for the salespeople, which is going to be a Canvas app, right? So the app for the salespeople is where they get to create the project and where they get to manage the project, where they get to view updates on the project. And we have the side of the customer aspect on that same Canvas app where they get to see their customers, they get to see the projects that they are working on for a particular customer, and they can actually see how far that project has already gone. Now, as we highlighted last week, and as we have always said, this is a demo project, and the reason why it's useful for us to learn this way is in the real world, you are going to be building solutions like this, right? So this is a very interesting scenario. And one thing I like about the whole Power Platform ecosystem is at the end of the day, you find yourself doing the same thing over and over in different projects, one way or the other, right? They still leverage the same knowledge base you have. So we going through this project is actually going to be an introduction for us to see how things work in the real world and how you can actually take a business requirement and transform that into a solution. So this is just a quick demo. It's just a simple three-screen application. Really, your Canvas app, you should not try to build a 100-page Canvas application, right? You should try to keep it light. The selling point of Canvas apps is that rather than having one humongous solution, you can actually have several little solutions that are actually solving that are more focused in terms of what they are doing, right? So this is what we are going to be going through today. So this is the first page. It's just a simple welcome page. We can see just some little play around with shapes and pictures and greeting text. And we have two buttons here. This first one is going to take us to the projects. This one is taking us to customers. Coming over here in the projects, here we can see a list of the active projects we have, right? Once you click on the project, okay, here you can just see the status of the project. We have different status right now. These ones are in progress. This one is in the draft. Then you can see the details of the project here. You can see the customer it belongs to and some extra metadata concerning the project. Then over here, I just implemented something like a chat like feature here, which allows you to this is where the salesperson can actually see the updates on the project. So last week Omolola created a table for us, which was the project update table. So this is actually a view to that table. And let's say you've seen an update as a salesperson, maybe you have a feedback from the customer. You can just say, okay, this is my feedback. This is my feedback, right? And you can send in that feedback, and the feedback goes. So you can send in that feedback, and the project manager is going to be able to get that feedback on his application. So this is the project side. If we come over to the customer side, you can see the different customers you have. You can create a new customer. So if you click on add, you can actually add a new customer, or you can preview the old ones. You can actually update the information, right? You can update it here, and you observe that once you click on add, it changes to add. Once you click on any of them, it actually asks you to update it. And for each customer, you can see the active project for the customer, right? And from here also, you can create a new project. And you notice once I clicked on, so for example, you see that, well, while I'm in this Contoso network, right, this is a customer. Once I click on this add, at the point I want to create a new project, now you can see Contoso network is already pre-filled for us. So now one of the things about Canvas applications is you have full control of the UI, right? That's why you can see we have a lot of colors. When we get into model-driven apps, you will see it's quite different, right? And now there's even a mixture whereby you can integrate a Canvas app with a model-driven app. Beautiful stuff. So without wasting any time, let's just go. How do you get into this? How do we move from a blank canvas into a solution like this? So in the next few minutes, we're going to try to rebuild this application as much as we can. Let's see how far we can go with that. So the whole magic happens, it starts here. This is the Power Platform homepage, or the Power Apps homepage, make.powerapps.com. Once you come over here into apps, you have a preview of your apps and you can create a new app. So in this case, I'm just going to create a new Canvas app. Interesting, this is not longer showing as portal. This is now showing about as website. I don't know if any other person has seen that difference. So that's one thing you see on the Power Platform. Changes keeps on coming all the time. So you have to keep on getting updated. So here, this is Canvas. I'm going to create a new Canvas application, and I'm going to call this Project Management App, right? And you can choose whether you want it as a tablet view or a phone view. Um, Here, I've chosen a tablet view. Now, a Canvas app can either be tablet or phone. You can actually make it responsive, but it is a lot of extra work, or it is some form of extra work. You have to be intentional about whether you really want a responsive application or not. That's not the topic of today anyway, but by default, they are not, you can't really say it's responsive, not the way you expect a website to be responsive. But basically, you can view it from your phones, you can view it from your tablet. All right, your PC. Basically, when you see tablet view, is actually the PC view. So we are just going to start simple. So what we are going to be doing here is we are going to be comparing, and we are just going to try to rebuild it. Okay. So first off, we start with the home page. So let me come over to screens. Now this is called screen one. I'm going to rename this and call it home page, right? So now this is our home page. Now, if we come here, you observe that there's a form of a texture in the background here. So what we are going to do right now is I'm going to come in here, and so please just take notes that I'm going to be doing a lot of things, right? So I'll try to be slow, but we still have to go through them. So the first thing I'm going to do is over here, this is the home page, right? On the right, this is the properties pane. So for each control, each element you select, you're going to see a different set of properties. You actually have a view to those properties here also. In some cases, you get to see some properties here that are not here, right? But if you come over to advanced, you get to see some other properties also. But basically, you can access properties from your right here, and you can also access them from here. And this is the formula bar. This is where you get to type in some functions. If you work with some other Microsoft programs like Excel, you would also have seen the formula bar, right? And you might know how to use it, but basically it's very simple. We'll get to it as we proceed. So now we want to add a background image to this screen. I believe that's what I did in that one. So over here, we can see background image, right? Now, if I come here, Now this says add an image file. So basically straight up from here, I can upload an image. So I think I have an image saved here. I have a folder. Yep. So this is just the texture, and I'm bringing in that image now. And now you can see the image is showing up here, but it doesn't fill up the whole screen. How do I make it fill up the whole screen? Now here, this says image position. If I come in here, I can change it to fill, and that's going to fill up the whole screen. Good, we've achieved something already. Now going on, we still have another image that we need, which is this one. So I'm just going to come in here again. So the image we uploaded, if I come over here to this panel here, now you can see I have paper here as an image, right? So I still want to upload another image. Let me go into my files and get the other image that we're going to be using. Okay, so I found it. So I've just uploaded that image now and it's coming in. So that's this BG image. So how do we bring it into our view? So there has been a couple of rearrangements here. And I think I like this experience also because I can just come up here and click on insert. Once I'm here, I can just search for what I'm looking for. And here it is an image I want to insert. And once I do that, I can bring in that image already. So over here, now you can see the properties pane has already changed. Coming here, I'm just going to switch over to BG image, right? And once again, I'm going to set this to fill, and we have that over there. So what else do I need? If I come here, I can see some shapes all around. So I need a rectangle. So let me just bring in a rectangle. and you find yourself manipulating shapes a lot in Power Apps just to kind of get the look you're looking for. So here, once you right click, you actually have a hot menu. I believe that's what it's called. Once you right click, I can just come to reorder and send to back, right? So I want that to go below everything over there. Okay, so we can come in here and choose a color. So you can see there's a color property here. So I can come in here and choose this color. Let me choose this one. Let's writer. Okay, so that's that there. Then I also had another rectangle. So this is another rectangle that I'm bringing here. So for this other one, I made a play with the transparency. So you can actually make your objects transparent. So once you come into colors, you can see this is standard. If you come over to custom, you can actually choose another color. So let me come over to custom. And over here, if you pull this down, you can actually adjust the transparency, right? So you can see I'm just kind of trying to have that kind of glassy effect. Me, I believe once you're building applications, you should actually give it a touch of good looks, right? It should not just be boring. So I try to just make things interesting a little bit. So we have that kind of glassy look, and I gave it a border over here, and here that's what we just have. So that's the replication. And so let's bring in a text, right? If you saw that, I just clicked on insert and text, and I'm going to bring this up here now. And basically we're just going to type in here project management app. Okay, so I didn't remove text. Project. All right. So once you have your text, right, you can centralize things. So still in the properties here, I'm going to centralize that. I'm going to make this bold, and I'm going to increase the font size. Let me say to 30. That's not too big. It's not too bad. Okay. So let me bring this here. So basically, it's a drag and drop interface, right? That's part of the things that makes this so beautiful. You can copy and paste. So I'm just going to press Ctrl C, Ctrl V to duplicate this since I already have it on the screen, and I'll just say welcome to this application. Okay, and I'm going to reduce this size. Let me make it 18. Okay, I'm going to make this semi-bold. Right. Then, how do we bring in our buttons? Still the same thing, come over to insert. You can search for button, and here we can see the button. And I'm just going to bring up the button, right? The text, I'm going to change this one to projects, right? I'm going to copy, Control C, Control V, and this, I'm going to make this customers, okay? So you can see how quickly you can start to build useful applications. All right, so now this is that, right? This is just the UI. The rest is just coloring. We are going to skip that for now. So the next thing I want us to do now is how do you add your data source? Now, this is just UI, but really we want to work with data, right? Um, how do you add your data sources? Now, if you look at this panel here on the left, we have this icon that is kind of like a bucket icon, which is the data icon anyway. So here, currently, we don't have any data in our application, but remember we created some data tables last week, right? So what are the data tables we need? You don't need to add all the tables that exist in Dataverse. No, you just add the ones you need for your application. So what do I need? Well, I need projects, definitely, because we want to be able to create projects. So I'm going to come in here. Okay, now we have duplicates. That's interesting. But I think I will just go for the second option. Let's see how that goes for us. So now that's projects. Let me add accounts. So I'm going to be adding accounts. Generally in the Microsoft space or in CRM space, accounts, use accounts to represent your customers, right? So because here we are going to be interacting with our customers, we need that table. Another table I'm going to add is the project task. So I'm just going to search for task and spell that correctly. Project task, yes, that's it. I think for now, those are the tables we need. If we need anyone else, we can always come back here and add our data. Now, one other key thing about Canvas apps compared to model-driven apps is Canvas apps gives you the freedom to use any data source as your data source, right? But in model-driven apps, you are restricted to Dataverse. But with Canvas apps, you can connect to other data sources. So you can connect to Salesforce, to Twitter, any data source, right? As long as there's a connector. If there's no existing connector, you can actually create a custom connector for you to be able to leverage that API from within the Power Platform. Those are beautiful stuffs that are available to us as Power Platform developers. Okay, so now we have our data source. Good. Now, one thing I want us to see again now is we'll be going to create the next projects now, the next screen. Let me just quickly change the colors, the background colors of this one. So let me just choose one of the predefined colors here. Let me go for the darker one. All right, so let's leave this as that. That's going to be one of the simplest pages we're building tonight. Okay, so going over, let's rename this to projects. It's good to have a good naming convention. Most people that have worked with me will know that I usually don't take care to name things properly. So that's not the best way to work. Take time, name things properly is going to help whoever picks up the application after you. Okay, now one thing I want us to do is I want us to create a component, right? So let's create a header component. So coming here, I'm going to come into components. So you can see besides screens, we have components and I've created one. This is called components one by default. I'm going to rename it to header. So what's the meaning of a component? If you've worked with other programming languages, you might have heard components before, but the idea of components is they are reusable groups of controls, right? Which you can use over and over again. So if I come back into this demo app, what we can see up here is actually a component. So, and the good thing about component is once you change it once, it changes everywhere, right? So this is a component and we are just going to try to replicate it now. So as I said, I'm going to be showing us different things that in your day-to-day work as a Power Platform developer or a Power Apps developer, you're going to be coming across them. So now the first thing I want us to do is let us set the width of this. Now you can see this is kind of showing as a square, right? Meanwhile, our app is generally in a rectangular format, kind so to speak. So here, coming over here. Now, one thing I want us to see here is once I hover, you can see my mouse. These are like buttons, right? If I click on size, observe what happens. You can see it goes over to the formula bar here. If I click on description, it goes over to the formula bar. And okay, that's taking some time to come up. So, but basically, you can see once I click on fill, it goes over to the formula bar. So sometimes that's a good shortcut because you can't type code on the right here. You can't type code here. You can type code on the formula bar. You can also type code on the advanced bar, right? You can type code in here if you come into advanced. But a lot of times you see the property here. Once you just click on the button, you can actually come up here to type in the code. So that is a pro tip from me. Take that as a bonus. So here, this is parent.width. So I think this is the first, okay, no, not parent.width, app.width. So this is the first code we are actually looking at today. So, but basically, the code in Canvas apps, they're just logical thinking, right? Basically, what am I trying to do here? I want the width of this property to be the width of the app. Basically, what do I come? I set the width property. Can you see it here? Width. I set it to app.width, and now you can see it has expanded to the size, to the width of the app. So that is good. That's good enough. Talking about the height, we just want a header, right? So we don't want it to be too tall, basically. I can just come and set the height to, sometimes I like 48, sometimes I like 64. Now I think I'm going for 64. Let me just go for 64. Okay. So basically now you can see this kind of looking like an header now. So how do we add the image? Well, we've seen that already. You go to insert. This menu is really nice where you just have one thing because sometimes you find yourself having to look for the control you want to add in the former interface. But now I think it's nice the way it is much more streamlined. Okay, so that is my image. Good. And now, but you observe here, we have it rounded. How do you make an image rounded? It's very simple. Basically, you set the width, the height, and the border radius to the same value. So here, my width is 64, my height is 64. I will come and set the border radius to 64, and that is going to round up my image. So it also works for half. If it's not just the same, if it is the border radius is half of the width and the height, it's still going to work, but it's not overkill if you make it the same anyway. We have our rounded image. Then the next thing I did was add a circle. Um, I'm taking so much time talking about design, uh, but I think design is also a big part of your application building. So I'm going to bring this one here. Just like before, I'll send the circle to the back and let me set it to the same width and height, right? Then I'm just going to add, I'm going to thicken the border, right? And set it to white as the color. So let me come to the header and let me change the background color of the header to this color. Okay, let me increase the height of the header a little bit. Let me make it 68. No, not you. Header 68. Okay, just to give a little breathing space there. So components is a key part. Well, depends on the kind of apps you're building, but it's good to know how to build components. They are useful. And we also have something called a component library, whereby you can create components that you can use across multiple apps. Okay. So, all right. So I'm just going to add a text here, which is going to be the header. Okay. And now we are going to create a property for this component, which is going to be the header text. Okay, and this is going to be an input property. We'll see what that means as we go on. So now we have a text and we have an image. So what do we want to put in the image? We want it to be the user's image. How do we get that? You use user dot image. Okay. So now user.image is here. So that is actually another function we are looking at, user.image. We have other properties in the user function. If I come into user dot, you can see you can get the user's image, get the user's email, get his full name. So you can get those things from there. All right, so that's that. So we've created this. Then we have to connect this to the property we created. So we created the header text property, right? And now we want to make this the header text. So we are going to come in here and say header dot header text, right? So now basically whatever that property is, so if you come over to header, you will see there is a header text property, right? So if I come in here and change this to header, so now you can see that has changed the text. So basically, now we are going to create our second page here, and this is our second page, the project page. And here we are going to add that component we just created. So this is header, and that is here automatically. So the good thing about components is at any point in time, one can come back here and change this. So now I'm just going to change that text to white, and now we have this here already. So, but we don't want header on our page, right? We want to see the name of the page. So I can just come in here. Now you can see the property we created. So this is a custom property. Now I can come in here and say project, right? So rather than header text, I'm just going to change this to projects, and that is there automatically. Good. So the next thing we want to do now is how can we view our projects? Now we go into gallery. So you can use a gallery to view um, a group of data, right? So once you have a list of items and you want to view the list of items, you can use a gallery for that. So basically, we're just going to come in here, change the data source to projects, right? And you can see automatically we can view the project existing. We don't need an image, so I'm just going to delete that. Anytime you see an error, you can just hover on the error, click on edit in formula bar, and you see what is going on there. So in this case, I'm just going to remove the references to that image. And so over here in the width also, we have some references to the image I deleted. And now we can see our application is back on track. So now this is the details of the projects we have. So over here, how do we see the status? We have this item property of a gallery, right? So here this says this item dot project. Let me see, let me search for status. Okay, so here we have project status. Good. So now we can see the status of our project. Fine. So coming over here, let's add a new form. We are going to call this an edit form. What do we want to use the form for? We want to use the form to be able to add a new project, right? So we are just going to come in here. Over here for the form here, we are coming here, and the data source of the form, we are going to select the same data source, right? Because we want to use this form to fill up our project. We are just going to click on that here. And over here, now, once you have a form, you can see the fields. You can see right now, we can just see the project name and created on, but we need more details. If we come over here, you can see we have the project name, the customer, because we want the salesperson to be able to do that. So once it comes in here, once you click on add field, so we can just come here and search for, okay, you can click on, let me just scroll down. So the name is there already, good. So we need the customer, and we want to be able to see some other information. So we're just going to click on all of them, and the scheduled, and this, good. So those are the informations we want to see. And right now, okay, all right, good, they're here already. And for the columns, I'm going to switch this over to one column view. So right now we have this information here. Perfect. So how do we work with forms? Now this is just a form, right? If I click on play, you would even see that nothing is showing up. That's not too good. And let me add a submit button quickly, and we'll see how we can manipulate forms and get them to work for us. So here I'm just going to click on add a new button. I'm sure by now we are convenient with adding items. And here I'm just going to change this to add project, right? Okay, so we'll just deal with add for now. We'll see the idea of updates as we proceed. So basically, now a form has, this is very important, please take note. A form has a property called item, right? And here, if we come over to the form, I will come here and say item. So you can see by default, item is blank, right? That's why even when we come in here, we can see that nothing is showing up. So what I can do here is I can take this form. What I like to do is I'll select the component, come in here, copy the name. So I've just pressed the Control C. So now if I come over to the item property of this form, I will just say gallery1 dot selected. So basically what I've said here is whatever is selected on this gallery, use that as the item of this form, right? So here, now you can see I've clicked on this one, and now once I click on any item, you can see that that's the item that is showing up in the form. Okay, that's good. We've taken a step forward, but we are not there yet. This button is not doing anything right now. So basically, what can we do with this button? We have a very beautiful function that works with a form called the submit form function, right? So the submit form function, you pass it the name of the form. So right now, and now one thing about Power Apps is once you have an element, once you select an element in code, it gives it a color, right? So you can see here, this is showing color green, right? If I come over here, you can see it highlights that element also with that same color. So that makes it easy for you to know what is what, right? And another good thing is if I come in here now, maybe I don't want this to be form one. Maybe I want to rename this. I want to rename this to project form, right? Now, you notice in my code previously, I used form one in my code, right? So, but now if I come back to that code, so coming back to this button now, you can see that form one has been renamed for us with project form. So that's also a good thing that Power Apps does for us behind the scene. Now we are going to see magic happen. Like literally, we'll see magic happen very soon. Okay, so uh, I'm just going to come here and add an icon. One other thing, I'm so much loving this new interface because I can just come in here and type add, and it just takes me to the icon immediately. Before, you would have to go to the icon, you have to search for the icon, So I'm so much loving this update. All right, so now we have the add button here. Now, basically, if I come in here, let me click on play. Now we can see this now. So the reason why I said we are going to see magic happen right now is, we said submit form, right? Ordinarily, you would think submit form will just help you create new items. But actually, submit form would also help you update your items when an item is selected. So for example, let's say this is no longer called web development, maybe is now called app development, right? So I can come in here and change that to app development. Once I click on this, now you would see the name here has already changed also, right? So that's very nice. Let me come and reduce the size of this. Let me just make it 12. Okay, let me make this 10. And you can literally see that it has actually updated that item for us. Now, I didn't really talk so much about a gallery at first, but let's just talk about it. Galleries is one of the backbone of Power Apps, I would say, because it lets you do a lot of things very easily. So you observe that as I move one element, is moving the other element, right? So because in a gallery, this first item is the template. So however you structure this first item to look like, that's how other items are going to look like. Okay, that's good. We've done this already and we have that working. Let's see what can we do with our add button. So on this add button, now I want to talk about something, which is this property, the onSelect property. Very useful property. A lot of components, almost all components have the onSelect property. Basically, the onSelect property, it responds whenever you click on that element. So one good thing about Power Apps is that it's not only buttons that can respond to selection, right? Literally any element can respond to selection. So here, this is an icon. What do we want to happen when we select on this icon? We want to be able to create a new item. You can see right now, what I'm having is I can only preview existing items, right? But it's not giving me a blank form. So basically, on this onSelect, we are going to type in another function. There are loads of functions, but we're typing in this one. This is new form, right? And you can see it's self-explanatory basically. What am I saying here? I'm saying, give me a new form. And I'm telling him the form I want, this project form. So let's see what happens now. So once I come in here and click on this, you can see it clears it out and it gives me a blank slate for me to be able to enter a new form. Good. So that's good enough. And yep. So that's good enough. So we can also do something. This text, right? Um, this is add projects, but we are not always adding projects, right? We are also updating projects. So we can type in a function just to adjust that text. So we are going to look at another function now, which is the if. So basically, it's just like common English. We want it to be that if we are editing or if we are updating an item, update the form. Then if we are creating a new item, um, add, change the text to add, right? If not, make it update. So we are just going to do that and we are going to say, well, there are different ways to the market. So there are different ways you can achieve this. So we are just going to try and explore one of them. So in this place, I'm going to say, let me see. Let's see, what's the name of our form? I think it's still called form one. No, we've changed the name, right, to project form. So let me say if project form, right, dot mode. So a form has mode. Over here, when I have this form selected, if you come over to the right here, you would see, okay, I have my button selected actually. So now that I have my form selected, you can see we have mode, right? So you can see default mode. We have different modes for a form. A form can either be in edit, it can either be in new, or it can either be a view form, which is kind of explanatory. I'm not going to spend time saying the difference between that. Okay, so now I'm saying if form mode, so I'm saying if the mode of the form, right, is what? Is form mode dot, which one should I use? If it is form mode dot new, right, show add project, else show update project, right? So if else, I'm sure a lot of us have heard of if else statements before. So let's see if that works. Sometimes codes don't work as you want, so um you just have to okay, so let's see. Now, okay, yeah. So basically, we are still on a new form, right? So I'm going to add another code to this place here. I'm going to come here to my gallery, to the on select of the gallery, right? And I'm going to say if any item is selected on this gallery, go to make it edit form. So basically, I'm saying if any item is selected on the gallery, make this form an edit form. So let's see how that helps us now. So now you observe, now that I select the item, it says update project, right? Once I change it to a new form, it says add project. So basically, we can add a new project here. Okay, so now we can create a new project name. Um, so let's just give a project name. Let's just say Stringify training. Okay. And for the customer, okay, we have only two customers here. Let me just choose AdventureWorks. And now basically we are still going to stop we are still going to be able to stop the viewer of this app from editing these fields because we want the project manager to do this, not the salesperson. So I'm just going to click on add right now. Okay, now there is a column that is missing, project status. So I'm just going to add that quickly. So basically, project status is a required field. So you must have a required field in your um in your form, basically, right? So once it is required, so you can see it says project status is required. So these are the different status we have. For this one, I'm just going to leave it in draft and I'm going to click on add project, and you see immediately it updates our data source. Beautiful. Okay, so that's that about that. I think one thing I would like to because I would want to give Obalola the time to come in and just take us through the model-driven app side of things also. So one other useful thing that you're going to see in your daily work also is something I want to show us now. So I'm just going to add a drop down, right? I'm just going to add a drop down and basically I want to be able to use this drop down to filter this data. So here I have it all projects, my project. Basically, we want to be able to filter the data so that the user can either choose to view all the projects or he can either choose the project that belongs to him. Okay, so what can we do with a drop down? Okay, so here I can come in here and say all projects. So basically, I'm manually typing in what should show up in that drop down. So I'm just going to come here and say my project. So basically what I've done here, I think this is a table. Let us see. Let me highlight it. Yeah, it's a table, right? So I just created a simple table. So we have table, we have records, they're kind of different things. So we have that. And basically, once we come in here, we are just going to type in a filter function. So I can just come to this place where it says data source. As I said earlier, click on this and I can say filter. So as I said, it's just like plain English. filter. Okay, let's start with our if, right? So I'm just going to say if drop down one dot selected, right, equals, if drop down dot selected dot value equals all projects. That should actually be all projects, right? So let me just come and change my English. All projects. I say my projects, yeah. Let me not embarrass my English teacher. Okay, so all projects. So basically, I can just say filter projects, right? Okay, so if it's all projects, we don't need to filter. Let's just show everything. Beautiful. Then, if it's not all projects, because we have only two options, I'm not going to bother typing the else. So I'm just going to go straight to the point and say filter projects. So this is the filter function. I'm going to tell us a little trick about Power Apps right now. So now look at this. You can see once I put my mouse here, if you observe above that function, you can see it tells you what you are expecting, right? It says filter, type in the source. After you type in the source, what is the logical test? So in this place, what is filter? What's the condition basically? So right here, I'm just going to say, okay, created. So basically, if it is mine, I'm the one that created it, right? So I'm just going to say created. Okay. So something is up. So this is not projects. This is projects with the S. So here I'm just going to say created by, right? Created by dot. Okay. So, yep. So created by dot email, the email or personal email. I think it's personal email. So a lot of times, the way I just think about these functions is, okay, let's see, something is going on here. Created by dot, let me just type email, search. So many emails. Okay, primary email. Yep. Okay, so created by the primary email equals user dot email. Okay, so then I close my brackets. So basically, right here, we have just one account, right? But in the real world, if there are multiple accounts, multiple people submitting, this is going to filter out and say, okay, if the if it is all projects, it's going to show everybody. If it is not all projects, in this case, if it's not all projects, it's my project. So this is going to fetch you your project, whereby who created it, the email of the person that created it, is the email of the logged in user, right? Which is this user.email. So that is going to filter that aspect. So basically, now the next thing we want to do is this chat side, right? Which is kind of interesting. So for us to do that, basically is a gallery, but what I used there was a flexible height gallery. And basically, the flexible height gallery, as it says, it's kind of weird explaining some of these things because it's so self-explanatory. Flexible height gallery, it expands, it's flexible height, right? Based on the content, it expands. So that's kind of useful for this kind of thing that we want to do because we don't know what people are going to type, right? So we are just going to try to model that a little bit. And I think there are some interesting concepts in the way I actually put that together. So basically, I just cleared out all the items of that flexible height gallery there. And basically what I just did here was first off, add a rectangle. So you'll be doing a lot of play with shapes. Okay. So add a rectangle. I'm just going to put it here. Just give it that width. Then the other thing I did was work with the HTML text. All right. And so basically, the reason why I use HTML text is it allows me some form of formatting. And basically, I just wanted all of this to be one single text. So once we come in here, this is one single text, which I've done with an HTML text. So let's see what we can do here. Basically, what do we want to show first off? What's the data source? I think that's where we're supposed to start. So the data source for this, no, so we've not added that actually, which is the project updates. Um, so updates, project updates, right? So that's coming in, that's coming. So I'm just going to come in here, switch the data source to project updates, right? So now the first thing we want is we want to make sure that the updates are coming from the selected project, right? So we are still going to use our filter function again, and we are just going to come in here and say filter our project updates, right? Filter our project updates and get us the item. So now you can see it's telling us logical test, right? Get us the item where the project, let's see, let's just do project dot project. I will explain what that means right now. Let's see, is it going to let us do that? Where project dot project equals the gallery one dot selected dot project. So in a table, in every table, we have a column that is the name of that table. That column is the ID column of that table, right? So for the project table, we have the project column. That project column holds the ID of that table. So in this case, I've just said filter it where the ID is equal to the ID of the one that is selected. So at that point, it's going to return the value just for the ones that is selected. Okay, so that's that. So let's see what can we do with our HTML text here. So let me just come in here. This is HTML. And let's see. I'm trying to hurry up now so that we don't go over. So now I remember I said a gallery has this item, right? So for this project summary, if I come in here, you can see we have project summary, we have next action, we have blockers, right? So we are just going to model that. So we want to combine all of those into a single HTML text. So here I'm just going to type in the text. I will say project summary. Now, you remember this is HTML, so I can use my bold tag. I've actually seen cases whereby some people do like really interesting things like add shadow, all those things you could do with CSS, right? I've seen people do things like that with this HTML text because basically it allows you to type in HTML. So I'm just going to put the break tag, which will send it to the next line, and I'm going to say and. So we have this and. What and allows us to do is to concatenate, right? You can, and concatenate just means you are adding a text with code, basically. You are joining them together. That's not true. Concatenate is just a string building concept, but in the process of building string, you can add code and normal text together. So in this case, I'm just going to come here and say project summary, right? So I'm going to concatenate it with this again. Then I'm going to add my break tag. So you would start to see it build up. So break tag, right? Then what do I want to type in again? I want to type in the next heading, which is next action. So I'm just going to say next action here. Okay, so I'm going to, let me not put that. So let's bold in this next action, right? So bold, close bold, normal HTML. Then I think we need the break here. So we concatenate it with the actual data, which is coming from this item. So in this case, it's going to be this item dot next action, right? I always like to break things down. I think it makes things easier on the eye. Let me see if I can break it from here. No complaints, good enough. Okay, so now this is the next action line. And one other reason I like that is because I can just copy and paste, right? So let's just copy and paste, copy and paste. So after next action, we have blockers. So I'm just going to come here, be lazy, blockers, and I'm just going to come and change this to this item dot blockers, right? Um, dot blockers. Good. And over here, I have feedback. So it's just going to concatenate everything together. And here, this is this item dot feedback. Beautiful. So that's added HTML. So another thing I'm going to do here is, now that's why we use a flexible height gallery. This can be as tall as it wants, right? So I'm just going to come in here and change this to auto height. So text have something called auto height, meaning it's going to keep on expanding as long as it needs space, right? So that's the auto height, which is very useful for us in this case. So I'm going to come back to my tree view. This is what we call the tree view, where you can see your components in a hierarchy form. And basically, as I said, I'll come and copy the name here. Um, there are different variable concepts, right? This is a way you can reference this. It's kind of like a variable, right? Because basically what I want to happen now is, depending on the height of this text, I want this rectangle to expand to the height of this text, right? So that our text is not just jumping off. So I'm going to copy the name of the text from here. You can also copy it from your tree view if you like, but it's always faster for me to select on the element, click here, copy it. Then I can come to this rectangle, go to the height property. Once I click on this, you remember it takes me to the formula bar. If not, you would find yourself scrolling here, trying to look for the property. But I just observed this faster. Clicking here, it brings you over here. So you come here, paste this here, and I'm just going to say dot height, right? Then let me just say plus 30, right? And now you can see our rectangle is, no matter depending on the height, is going to respond. Now we've just made them relative, right? So it's a relative form of a relationship we've set up there. So I think we are good to go. Let's click on play here. And okay, now you can see, now I did something in this case whereby I'm hiding the elements that are blank, but let's just leave it like this for now, right? So basically this is it. We can see the different elements here. We can see, okay, this is a summary. This is the kind of what we can see here also anyway. So but I think another thing I did here to make it kind of like a chat thing is I did a sort. So there's a function called sort, right? Because now let me add one more item. Let me just add a normal text, right? Just to show um the time. So here I'm still coming to this item because we are in a gallery. So I'm just going to say this item dot created on, right? Then there are ways you can format your text. Now you can see it's showing 11 blah blah blah. I don't want this, so I can format my text by doing text. Just this is just a simple one. There are other ways that are more complex, but let's just take this easy way out. So now you can see I'm just saying date format dot long time, right? So perhaps it's just going to go ahead and format it for you. And now we can see the date and time. I'm just going to reduce it so you can see it is in the, oh, that's too small. So you can see it is in a more readable format. Let me just give it an italics, and I think I still want it smaller though. Okay, let's say that's good enough, right? And you see you can add other elements. In this case, I added, oh, okay, I didn't publish that, but I also added the name of the person who is pasting it, right? Who is posting that response. So basically, you're just going to get that from this item dot created by. So beautiful stuff. So this is the project page. Finally, let's see. This is 910. Interesting. Okay, so finally, let's just come to this third page, which is the customer page. And if you observe what I did just now, I did a duplicate, right? Let's wait for this to catch up a little bit. And so okay, so very quickly, I'm just going to change this text to white. Let's just be more design sensitive, right? Okay, so I did a duplicate. How do you duplicate? You just click on this more icon and you choose duplicate screen. So I've created a duplicate of the screen, right? And I'm just going to change this to customer. Good. And we have that. And now the good thing about components is I can just come to this header component and change this to customer, right? And just like that, it is adapted to this screen. And I can come in here, over here to the data source and just change the data source to customers. Okay, accounts, right? I didn't rename the table to customers, but that's still fine. We know it's our customers. And now we can see our accounts. And once I come in here, so we can see this is still talking about project status, but we don't need project status. What do we need from a customer? Maybe their email, right? So we could just say email, this item dot email, and we can see the email for that customer, and here we can see this item dot account name, so we can see our customers. Same thing we are going to do for the form. We are just going to come to the form here. Let me just come here. Sometimes forms are hard to select from here, so just go to the tree view and select it. Once you have that, I can come in here and say I don't want to see project, I want it to be connected to accounts, right? And it's going to complain a little bit, but I'm just going to click on replace my data card, and it's going to go in and get me some useful forms from the accounts table, right? I think I'm just going to add one more edit field. Let me add the email. Okay. And now we can see email. These items, you can reorder them. So I'm just going to drag this up. And you can also do something. You can choose to make a column or a field required, even though they are not required from the data source. So in this case, email is not required from the data source, but I want it to be required in my app. You can't edit form components until you come in and click on unlock change. So sometimes you can get carried away and you just see yourself clicking. Once you're on a form and you click twice and nothing is responding, just check to be sure that it is unlocked, right? So I'm just going to unlock it so I can change the properties. So now you can see I can click, and I'm just going to click on true. And now that column is required. So beautiful stuff. Coming here, we don't need this actually for here. So we're just going to take that out. Let me see if I put anything here for customers. Okay, I put a link to the project. Let me just do that and let's call it a day there. So let's see, all this should still work. New form, project form, all of that should still work anyway. So I'm just going to come in here, copy a gallery, and yeah, homologize on the table. Okay. So I'm just going to come in here. So this is just where we're going to end it, right? We're still going to use a filter function, which is something we've come across. And over here, so but basically now you can see it's trying to show us all the, so let me just say project status, right? It's always easier to search for status. So let me just search for status. So that's the project status. So now it's showing us all the all the projects. We don't want that. We want the project for this guy that is selected. So it's still the same thing. I'm going to come in here, copy his name, come in, type in filter. So basically, these are the kind of things you do in your day job and you get paid. Like we're just having fun, aren't we? So this is gallery dot selected. Um, what? Okay, no, that's not a condition. So it needs to be a condition. Gallery dot selected equals gallery dot selected dot project, right? Okay, so what am I trying to do? I'm trying to filter by the selected item, right? So this is account. Account is related to project. So let me just come in here and see project first. Let's see what we see. And sometimes, right, you just click on dot. I do that a lot. If I don't know what I'm looking for, I just click on dot. And if there are anything to show, it's going to show you, right? This doesn't seem right. I think I've lost my line of thought for a second there. Let me just see first. Equals so where the project, so let me start from here, right? Where project, filter projects, where projects, that's the project column, right? Where project equals this gallery dot selected dot project. Happy with that projects. Gallery dot selected where project equals gallery. Just interesting. See. Okay, let me just come in here and take a sneak peek. And it's just something. Okay, the accounts. What page am I on? Filter projects. What am I filtering projects? Filter projects. Yeah. Okay. So I lost my line of thought. Let's bring this in here. Let's see what is going on here. This is gallery. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Where customer, remember customer is the column on this our project table, right? We have a column called customer. So where the account is the selected gallery dot accounts. That makes a lot of sense. So but basically you observe that once I click on a customer now, it's filtering the projects to show me their projects. So basically it's things like that we just so let me just run us through some of the codes that I have here. Then over here we have the new. Basically, this is sending in. Um, this is sending us to the next page, and allows us to be able to create a new project with the context of this customer. So amazing stuff. Time is the enemy here. And I'm going to stop there for now. Let's have Omolola just run us through a few things before we go. All right, today.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Somebody was saying this is too much knowledge to let go. This is so much excellent stuff, excellent stuff. Thank you, Kyle. Like I said at the beginning, that the essence of what we're trying to do is, give you some sort of career path, give your career an ideology of how to go, and this is fantastic. We see that Coyote has been able to leverage on what Omolola started last week, right? In creating a data structure, a data table, and all of that. And today we see we are building an application on it. And you see how easy it is to build an application. Just bring in things, click here, and then you are combining the applications together. I know that the function side might sound look somehow, but but it gets easier. If you look at those functions, you would notice that they are basically your natural language, right? It's saying filter something. Yeah, everybody knows what filter would mean. It's saying navigate. Everybody wants, if I say navigate, it means move somewhere. Natural functions, right? And very easy stuff. And wonderful stuff Kyle showed us on how he writes his own function. All right, you can see the suggestions on those applications that tells you, okay, if you want to filter, get your table first, then get the thing you want to filter. So you can see those suggestions are makes it easier to even write your functions in this case, right? And that's how you start to build your Power Apps. Just before we go, we have about a few minutes more, but don't worry. That's the Canvas app side, all right? Last week Omolola started from building the tables, right? But how do we start when we talk about model driven side? Okay, so on the model driven side of things, Omolola is going to show us how it happens. It's more easier on model driven, all right? It's going to be more easier on model driven. So Omolola is going to show us that on how the model driven side works, all right? And after that, just stick around a little bit more minute for us, because next week is going to be more interesting. Next week we'll look at automations, all right, how we can bring in automations. But wherever Umbrella can stop today, we'll pick it up from next week, and then run the automation with it. And before you know, we're done with the entire project. But I feel everybody's just learning something along the line. Umbrella, it's good to have you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Babe. Good evening, everyone. It's confirmed that you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, can hear you.
Great. So, thank you so much, Kirby. I learned so much just looking at that. And the one thing I'm going to say before I go on today is ensure that before the next class, you do everything that we've done today. It's not hard. Once you start doing it, it gets more, and more, and more, and more simpler to you. Right? Okay. So, I'm not going to take our time. Kirby has taught us so much today. So, what we'll be doing today is we'll just go straight to I'm going to build on what Kayode has done, and I'm going to show you the model driven side of things. So give me a minute to my screen. Okay, so please let me know when you guys see my screen.
Yes, we see your screen clearly.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so yes, all right, everyone, look here, look here, look here. I know we've been building and we've been looking at Canvas application, but now this is, I'll be showing us model driven application. But before that, remember that everything that we are building, we are actually building it on where? On our, inside our solution. So if I come to application now, I can see the application that Kayode built. So let me just uh, okay, let's not refresh before internet will grade it on our side. All right, beautiful. So what we want to do now, we want to create form. So remember, I like itemizing anything that I want to do. So first thing first, we want to create our form. So we already have our tables here. And if you look at inside of our solution project tracking, you can see all the tables: account table, contact table, project, project task, project update, and user. The account table, the contact table, and the user table are out of the box tables, meaning that we did not build them, right? Kaide already explained to us that all of these are coming from Dataverse. Okay, they're out of the box table. We have them already on Dataverse. So we are going to start by creating our project form. That's the first thing we are going to do. So by doing that, you just need to select the drop down and you will see the form here already. You select the form and we will be using our uh, main form. So basically the main form is already there. So what you are doing is you are editing, all right? So you are going to click on edit. I'm just going to wait for this to come up and we'll start editing our form, all right? So I just want to show you, this is actually what it looks like. You can see this is still loading. This is what it looks like. It will come up and you see it, and you can adjust it. Of course, today we will not start with our project review. We are going to start with project updates. We create forms for project updates. We also create forms for project tasks. All right. So I'm just going to go back here. I'll go back to my solution and I'll pick project update first. Select form again. Come to select form. Okay, come to your main form. Click on type main form and view edit. Okay. So one of the beautiful things that is going to happen tonight, and I'm so happy, is that you'll be able to see the difference between Canvas app and model-driven application real time. You can see the difference, and in your head, you can just say that, okay, so these are the constraints that I have in model-driven, these are the constraints that I have in Canvas app. Okay, so can I do this in Canvas app? Can I do this in model-driven? So that's why I need you to look at what I'm doing right now. So you see that right now I have, like I said, we are just editing this. You have name there already. You have owner there already. So this is what we are going to do. Remember that when we created this, we already have all of this. So we will just be, you can drag, I can drag like this, carry my blockers and just throw it here, or I can just click on it. So I want blockers to be on project update, meaning that you're asking, do you have any blocker? Put it there for me. I want project summary, so I'm just going to click project summary. Okay, so what's your next line of action? I want it here. I also want it to be able to give feedback. So I'm throwing it here. Then to just look for any other thing that I want to add here. Okay, so this is fine. These are all the things I want to add. Then you see this owner table. I'm going to do something very interesting now. I have selected it. So anything you want to do to any of the columns that you are placing here, just select it. So I've selected my owner table, and I am just going to come here and hide this owner table. Okay, so I've hidden it, and so here I have my name, I have blockers, I have project summary, I have next line of action, I have feedback. So I don't need names here. So I will just try and hide this one. So then I'm going to move feedback up. So beautiful. So this is how I want it to be, and I'll go ahead and save it. Okay. So once I'm done saving, I'm also going to publish it. And it's as simple as that. You are done creating your form. Okay, you're done creating your form. Now, the next thing that we'll be doing for this is we'll be creating the view for project update table. So I'll just go back to my solution. I'll select all the tables again, pick the project update table, and I'll pick view. All right. Now I want to edit my active project update. So basically, you have different kind of views. All right, so I'm going to edit this one and I will make it default, meaning that this is the view that I want to work with. So don't get confused about, okay, so what exactly is view? You're going to see it in action. So I'm going to select that and loading. Beautiful. So now I'm going to show us something now. So so basically, right, I came here and I worked on this video, and that's why you can see views there. So I'm removing all the views. Normally, once you come here, I'm going to show you what you're going to see. When you come here, you're just going to see name and created on. It's going to look like this. You see name and you see created on, but it's very flexible. Flexible meaning that you can remove, you can add to it. So I'm going to send this name back. Created on, I will just leave it there. And view basically means that I want to have a view into my database. Okay, I want to see all the data that has been imputed using the form. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. What are the things I want to see? I want to see the next action. So what's the next action that the project manager, what's the next action that project manager has built in? I also want to see my blockers. I want to see feedback. I want to see feedback. Yes. And let's add one more thing to this. So I want to see the feedback and this is the project summary. Okay. Yes, okay. Okay. So the same thing I'm just going to say. And once it is good, I'm going to publish it. So I've not done any magic. I have just selected the views that I want to see and I place them here, I save them, I publish. So now I don't like how this looks. So I'm just going to arrange it again. I'm going to drag feedback here. I'm going to move actions there. So all these blockers. Yeah, I can just keep together here. Probably. And you can make it bigger if you want. So I'll just save again. I'll publish. And we are good. So now the next thing that we want to do, just like what we've been doing, we go back here. Once we go back here, it takes you back to your solution where everything is fixing. And you are going to pick the next one, which is the project tab. Then you do everything that we just did again. Drop down for the task, look for form. So what I want you to be doing now is in your head, start asking yourself, what's the difference between this form that Lola is creating and the form that Kyrie created inside of Canvas app, okay? So you can see how I'm creating my form. So beautiful. So I'll just wait for this to load. So another thing is all of this basically does most of the work for you. It's more of local. I've not written a single line of code. I am just graduate talking. So anytime you hear low code in Power Platform, it's majorly talking about some of these tools. And yes, Dataverse is very, very, very much sitting on the low code rock, basically. Okay, so we're going to do what we did again. So task name is there, owner is there, but what I want to do, I'm going to select the owner. Remember how we did it the other side, and I'm just going to hide owner. So I'm going to hide owner, then I'm going to just drag in all the columns that I want. Okay, so we're going to do that again. I want product. I want tax description. I want tax end date, tax start date. I want to know the engineer that is doing this. Okay, so this is just some lab there. Then tax status. Yeah. Okay, and that is all. So now once you've placed everything, I'm just going to go ahead and arrange text name. I think the first thing that I want to put in my project. So what project? What's the name of the task? Yes. Then tax status, okay, tax status, tax name, and the region here. So perfect. I like it this way, and I'm going to save. And once it's done saving, I'm just going to go ahead and Publishing, yes, publish. And we're going to do the same thing we did again. We will go back once it has been published and we'll create views. So we are done. And we're going to go back and on here, select the project task again and create views for this project task, all right? Active views, this is what I want to create. I'm just basically editing it, all right? Beautiful. So we are just going to now remember that what I told us earlier when I said that our task. So once you open your view, this is basically what you see. Let's see. All right. So we are just going to put what we want to see. So once I'm looking at my data, I want to be able to see tax name. I'm not going to choose the project. I just want to see engineer. I want to see the engineer that is doing this task. I want to see the task description right here. I want to see the task started, task started, and you can just click. So now I'm so used to drag and drop task status. Yes. Okay, let's see. I didn't leave anything behind. So we will not be keeping project. I'm going to show you why we are not actually keeping project. So just engineer, yes. Task description, yes. So let's just arrange the task name. We want our task name first. We adjust it. We want to see the engineer that is in this task. We want to see the task description created on this one. I will just remove it. And I am done. Save public. Like I said, I've not written any line of code, but we're about to do something amazing now. And I'm going to tell you why I did not add project to all of this. Okay. So we're going to go back to our solution. And now that we're back in the solution, now we want to work on project. Okay, so project is actually the model table. So this is where I want you to really, really, really focus. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to create our form, but this form will not be exactly what we've done before. It's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to do so it's loading. And now we have our form, all right? So we will select all the columns that we want. Project name is already there. The engineer that is going to do this project is already there. There's a lookup field. Now, by now, you know what a lookup is. Project status is there. Then we want to just add the actual end date, actual start date. Then, okay, what's the schedule end date? The schedule start date. You can put that. Yes, and I'll look for other things that I want this form to have. Yes, I want to also put in the customer. I want to be able to see the customer that we that we are doing this project for. Yeah. So I'll just rearrange it. So project name, then I want project status to go after that. Just arrange. So actually, I want the schedule start with come first. So what the day that you're scheduled that you're going to start? What's the day that you're going to you schedule that you're going to end? Then what's the day that you actually started? Then when did you end it? So let's put this. That and the engineer and the customer. Beautiful. So now we are going to do another thing. So this is where we are going to do something different. So I'm going to come here. Let me over on this and okay, so I'm going to come here now and I am going to choose a column tab. All right, column tab. You're going to see exactly what a column tab is. I'm just going to select column tab. All right, and once I have done that, then I'm going to go to grid and I am going to select subgrid. So I'll say show related record. Select show related record. So now, once you select show related record, this is what it's going to do. It's going to basically filter all the tables here, right? And it's going to show you only the tables that are related to your record. When I say related, remember that we talked about relationship the other time. So it's just going to show you the tables that are related. You can see project tasks here. You can see project updates. You can see. So what I'm basically trying to do here is I want to be able to see my project task view. I want to see my project task view. I want to see my project update view inside when I open my form. So once we are done with this, I'm going to see the beauty of all of this. So I'm just going to select my project update. Okay. And remember the view that I actually want to see is my what? My active project update. Yes, so that's the view. I can click done. Okay. Yeah, beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to come here. I'm just going to edit something. So I don't want this name to be new tab. Remember, what I want to show here is my project update. So I'll just rename it to my project update. Project update. Beautiful. So I'm going to name this project update. You can see it has changed to project update, right? And I'm going to make this. So I'm making this my project update. I am making so I have some. This is new SG control. New SG control basically means new subgrid control. So subgrid is what I selected. And I am just going to hide it. All right, I don't want to see it there. I'm going to hide it. Then also this new section, I'm also going to hide it. So basically, while we're talking about all of this, what you just do is you already have something there already for you. You just edit to make it more beautiful. You remove all the things you don't want to see. Now you can see feedback, you can see created, you can see action, you can see blockers, you can see projects on me. These are the things that I already created in my what? In my view. Okay, so when I did subgrid, I just brought them. I'm saying that I want to see my view inside of where? Inside of my project. Remember that we already even did what a relationship. Okay, so just stay with me. And I'm going to save this. I'll save this, but I also want to bring another thing in, which is my project task, right? So for my project task, I can just do the same thing, select one column tab, right? And do that. Or what I can do, I can select all of these and decide that I want to have two column sections, meaning that right within here, under here, I want to be able to see what I want to. I will just bring in subgrid. Remember, subgrid is what is enabling us to see that. So I can just subgrid, show related records, show related record, and I will just look for the record. So I've already done project updates, so project task, that I want to uh, that I want to do. So it's asking, so what view do you want to see? And remember, it was my active project task view that I submitted. Okay, so that is why we have active project task. Select done. So you see, this is making it makes space and it's going to show us all the what, all the view that we created. So you can do it so that you can just see it right here, or you can decide to do what I did, and you can create a single one column tab. So you will just have it here. But I'm going to just make it here. I'll leave it here. I'll leave it right here. And I will do the same thing we did for the other one. New SD control, meaning new subject control. I don't want to see an ID. You can try to rename it, but I want to hide mine. So this new section here, I'm not going to hide this one. You know why? Because it is sitting right in my project. It's sitting right here. So I want to be able to differentiate this. Okay. So this one is project task. Project task. Or let's say task because you can have multiple tasks. Okay, so we'll be rounding up very soon. Rounding up very soon. Just stay with me. And we are going to save this. So we have a, let's see, what else do we want to do? Nothing. So we can just save this. And we'll publish. So what have we done tonight? First thing, we have created our form. So we went to the tables that we already created last week, and the same table that Kayode used to build his Canvas app. So what we did here, because we want to create a model-driven application, which we'll not be doing this night, and you'll just see that for model-driven application, you will just select that you want to build a model-driven application, and everything will just be built for you. But we'll not create sitemap. I'm going to show you because we need to see the beauty of what you just did, right? We're going to see the form and you see all of this. But before that, so what have I done? What have we done tonight? We have created a form, we have created a view, you can for project updates and project tasks. Then you came to project table itself. You created a form for project table. Then you decided to create a subgrid. So I'm using you now because this is what you're going to do when you're replicating it. Okay. So you decided to create a subgrid so that you can see your project tax view that you already created and your project update table view that you already created, and you brought to in. So subgrid enables you to enable you to be able to see the view of your update, the view of your project tax right inside your project. That's what we've done. Okay. So this is what we'll do. We'll publish this. All right. Publish this. And the last thing that we are going to do, we will not be doing other concepts of model-driven application. I'm just going to show you one beautiful that you are actually not the one building your model-driven app. Power Apps is building it for you. So before it was just a tiny bit more complicated than this, but the update that has been done has made it so easy and so beautiful. So I just go to I click on this. Right, so we are done with all our views and all our forms. So we actually want to create our model-driven application. So select model-driven. So what I did, I came to our selected view. All right, so this is going to load. And so as it was loading, do you know what it was doing? It was basically creating for you a very flexible application. And this is your model-driven application. So I'm just going to put the name of my model-driven application, project management app is what I'm going to name it. Project management app. And this is where we're going to be stopping tonight. So I will just put anything for description and I'm going to click create. And you will just see You didn't do anything. Just said you wanted to build an app and you constructed something for you. Okay. So loading app. Now is loading everything that you need to do, putting everything that you need to do in place and everything right in place. So this is your model-driven application. You might be looking at it that, Lola, this thing is not fine. It's so blank and just very basic. What am I going to do? Yes. One more step that we are going to do before we call it in, right? Just one thing is that you come here and add a page. So you say table-based view and form. Guess what? Your view and your form that you have created, you want it right here. And that's all. Okay. Next. Then it will ask you definitely. So which table? If you have an existing table or you want to create a new table, then I will just look for my table. The project table is what I'm going to be adding. All right. And how I'm going to do the remaining one, come next week and I will show you that. Let me just show you that it's project. Project. So this is project. Okay. Beautiful. Now this is exactly what we show you. All the project that Kaya already did. All right. If we stop that form and view, you will not see the beauty of everything we just finished with. So all the tables that Kaya built using Canvas app, because we're using the same table, you will see them here. So these are the projects. All right. And as a project manager, all of these, we are going to change it. We are going to customize it. In fact, we can change the theme, make it a little bit, beautiful next week. But this is it. You want to see your form that we just created, right? Look here, you can see on that project, the project that Kaya created, the name will automatically show you app development. Project status in progress. You can decide to, because now you are a project manager, right? You can decide to come in here and edit this, okay? But all of this, you just come in here. Now, one thing I want you to understand is we are trying to create applications that different people will be using. What idea has done, still people will be the one using that. So they will come and say, okay, this is the schedule date that we want it to start. This is the schedule date that we want it to end, right? This is the app develop. This is the name of the project that the customer has said that they want to do. And the project status is this, okay? Then you come and say, who is the engineer? I think I realize the engineer that will be building the customer console network. Sales has finished their work. And now it is the headache of the project manager to start tracking the app. And engineer Ayola, when are you actually starting this project? When are you actually ending this project? They start feeling, they start using, all right? Guess what? The project task that we, if they want to actually impute project tasks, or by the time they've imputed project tasks, just in here, right in here, you can see all your projects. You can see your project task. That was why I brought in here. I brought in the project task here, the subgrid that we do. This is it. So you can see the project description, okay? You can see the task end date. You can see the task start date. You can see the engineer. Then remember the project updates that we did. Remember that we created a separate column for this is just here. So you don't need to exactly leave here before you see all of these things. You come to your project update and it loads a view for you. Basically, anything that you go and you update in your project update, and we'll be creating all of that next week. How do I actually put something in my project update? That's what I want to look at next week. How do I actually put something in my project task? Because it is whatever you have put in your project update and your project task that you'll be able to see here. So the beauty of the subgrid that we've done, all right, is that once you have updated something in your project task and your project update, you can view them here. You can come here and view them. You just need to select the project You can see the project. You can just come here and update. Remember, who are you? Who is looking at this model-driven app? Who? Somebody put it in the chat box. Who is looking at the project app? Who is looking at this? Who is using model-driven? The project manager. The project manager is the one using the model-driven. So you want to try to make it easy for the project manager. I want to put everything in one place, and that's why we have done the spreadsheet. So next week, we will be looking at adding data into project tasks. We'll be looking at bringing in data and all of that. We'll look at navigation and all of that inside of our model-driven application. I hope that you have learned something. But the beauty of learning is when you start to replicate. All right. So by next week, ensure that you have almost about 7 days for you to go and do Canvas area, so that for you to actually do this model-driven that I have done. So do it up to this point, and I'll see you again next week. Thank you so much, Ayotunde. It's such a delight to actually have you come here and teach this. Thank you so much. Ensure you replicate this, guys. So you replicate this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ayotunde.
Fantastic, guys. Let's give some reactions. Give a clap and all of that. A reaction. It's so powerful. What has been seen today. So powerful stuff. Thank you so much, Kayode. Thank you so much, Omolola, for this great session. All right, and I'm sure everybody have learned. We've seen how Canvas app works. We've seen how where model-driven app starts from creation of forms and views. And it was so interesting when she brought in the project, when you brought in the project, and then all project like I already created earlier, we just saw it on this screen. It was so interesting and so powerful. I requested if anybody has a question, but I think there's nobody who have a question. I think a lot of people need to digest the things we've shown today. So and then they can be able to follow through events. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for coming on board. All right, it's good to have everybody around. Thank you, Kayode. Thank you, Omolola. It was a great time with you guys.